This video is sponsored by Clean My Mac X. Hey, what's going on everyone? Greg here, and WWDC 2021 just wrapped up, and Apple just showed off their future plans for iOS 15, iPadOS 15, watchOS 8, macOS Monterey, and some other things too with tvOS and HomeOS, and just all of their future software plans, which will be available in a beta later today for the Apple developer community, a public beta in July, and then when most of you are going to experience this is when these operating systems launch sometime this fall, usually around the iPhone event. But for this video, I didn't want to go and do like that generic, WWDC recap. Basically, this was a pretty cut and dry WWDC. Absolutely no hardware. Sorry about that. If you watched some of my videos, I was talking about the M1X Max maybe being at WWDC, but I always said maybe, right? There was always a chance we would not see hardware at this event, and it looks like Apple has decided not to show off any of their future M1X Max, but I'm still sure we will get that sometime later this year, and maybe we won't have to wait too much longer before Apple decides to announce this. I'm thinking probably fall at this point, but you never know. But, we got a lot of software stuff here, and if I was just gonna do like a recap video going through all the software, I feel like the better experience is probably just to go on Apple's YouTube page and rewatch WWDC. But I want to talk about some specific key features here, which I think is making the Apple ecosystem stronger than ever. And I bring this up because going into this year's WWDC, I really feel like there was this feeling that Apple could go one way or the other. A lot of people know that Apple is going through some court cases right now. I think most notably the Epic vs. Apple lawsuit. And, we're kind of wondering, we're at this inflection point of, does Apple have too much control over their ecosystem? And I think going into this, there was a feeling that either Apple would kind of loosen the controls on all of their platforms and give third parties more of an advantage, or they could double down and just strengthen the Apple ecosystem to make it even harder to leave. And I say that in a positive way. A lot of people like to use the Apple ecosystem and the walled garden terminology as a negative thing. I generally think that when we're talking about this stuff, especially when it's features, these are all features that Apple is developing, that Apple is making to make your experience as a user better when you use all of their devices. And what I saw out of WWDC 2021 was probably the most cohesive and coherent vision for the Apple ecosystem. And I think I have a pretty good idea in what direction these operating systems are going to be headed for the next few years. And it's kind of exciting. So first off, there's little things, right? One of the features that Apple announced today was statuses for iOS 15. Now with these statuses, you can set them for different events. So let's say you're at work, you can set that as a work status. You can limit who can contact you to only work colleagues. You can have a separate page of apps that are dedicated to work. Maybe you're working in Word, Excel, you have your email client, and you will get a special curated page with all of your different work apps on it. And then let's say you switch over to your home status, you're home now. All of a sudden you have all of your entertainment apps all synced up on device. And actually these pages will sync between all of your iOS devices. So if you're on your iPhone and all of a sudden you switch over to your iPad and you're still in work mode, well, all of those work apps, all of those work widgets are going to be front and center. So it makes using a competing device really hard. Like if you were thinking about getting an Android phone or an iPad, I would say maybe you're getting an iOS device and an Android tablet, but let's be honest, Android tablets stink, so that really isn't a realistic scenario. But let's say you were gonna get an Android phone and then you're gonna get an iPad as your tablet. Well, now you might be looking at this and going, well, wait a minute. If I can sync between all of these pages, have the same widget set up, have the syncing of contacts who can contact me while I'm at work, can contact me while I'm at home, why would I ever use an Android phone? Like, it's starting to get really hard. I mean, it was already hard, right? It was already hard to use some of these separate Apple devices and know that you're missing out on some of these features that worked really well together. But now it's looking even harder because it's so much easier to just set these custom statuses and have them apply to your entire device lineup. And I think that just basically goes down the whole range of products that Apple offers, all working together. And that was just the start of this event. There was a lot of other things that I saw that really made this experience even better. So we talk about Apple device lock-in. A lot of times we're referring, personally. I want to use an iPhone and an iPad, but I think that also stems further to our family. Now, I will give Apple credit here because with FaceTime, they actually announced that they were going to be sharing links through the web for non-Apple users. But there was a bunch of other improvements to FaceTime too, and a lot of these improvements, I think they work best when you have an Apple device. So there was this new feature called SharePlay, and what SharePlay would allow you to do is to share the content that you're watching. So let's say you're watching something on Netflix, or I don't know if Netflix was supported, but let's say you're watching something on Apple TV Plus. That's got to be supported. Well, on a FaceTime call, you could share that TV show with everyone in that FaceTime call. So you can all watch the show perfectly in sync together. This also applies to Apple Music content. So let's say you were listening to a song, you want to share your favorite song with a group of people or your friend. Well, you can all be on the FaceTime call together. You can load up that Apple Music song, and again, it will be perfectly in sync and play across all of those devices together. So when you're looking at a family of Apple devices, it kind of makes sense, right, for the whole family just to get an iPhone rather than explore other device options when you have a lot of these cool options, especially the screen sharing feature, which they finally brought over to iOS and made it super simple. So say you have elderly parents who aren't good with technology, well, now you can both have an iPhone, and if they have any problem navigating their iPhone, you can walk them through the whole thing with the screen sharing feature. And there's also this really cool advanced feature that blew my mind that is coming to macOS that just makes this ecosystem play even stronger. But no matter how many new features this version of macOS has, you still need to check out our sponsor for this video, Clean My Mac X, because of all of their essential tools. That's because Clean My Mac X is already 100% fully optimized for Apple Silicon with incredibly fast performance and a new design that looks right at home with macOS Big Sur. Not only does Clean My Mac X look great, but its intuitive interface is also easy to use to make sure your Mac always runs like new and comes with a simple one-button smart scan that will quickly scan your Mac for large files, system junk, malware, and give you some recommendations on how to boost the speed and optimize your Mac. And I know you're thinking, Greg, I know how to delete files on my Mac, but this goes beyond deleting simple files you see, because Clean My Mac X deep scans your Mac for temporary files and app leftovers that aren't so easy to find manually. Clean My Mac X is also useful for getting rid of older 32-bit apps, which are no longer supported on newer versions of macOS. Just look at how many useless apps I had on my own system, still needlessly taking up space and system resources. And don't take my word for it, because you can try Clean My Mac X for yourself for free by using the link in the description below. So make sure you check out the sponsor for this video, Clean My Mac X, and thank you so much to Clean My Mac X for sponsoring this video. And I think the biggest example of this whole Apple ecosystem swing in motion, turn of events, was what we saw with macOS Monterey and the iPad. So now there's this really cool feature called Universal Control, and what this does is it allows you to use a single mouse and keyboard for your entire Mac and iPad experience. So let's say you have like a Mac set up behind you and you have your iPad right next to it. Well, you can drag the cursor that's on your Mac over to your iPad, and it actually just goes like window to window right over to the iPad. And yeah, all of a sudden you have separate mouse and keyboard controls, even though you only had one Bluetooth connection into your Mac. That's all now going over to the iPad. And it goes even farther than that. So let's say you have like another Mac in the mix, right? You're like have two Macs. You have an iMac and a MacBook and an iPad. Well, now that single universal mouse control, that universal keyboard control, will all work on those devices. And Apple even showed a demo off where they took the cursor going from one Mac to the next Mac all the way to the iPad, grabbed something from the iPad, and dragged it all the way back to the last Mac in that stack. And I just saw that and I went, that is so cool that you can use all of these devices together like this. You know, Apple has always been good with using the iPad and the Mac together with features like continuity, and this is just taking it in a whole new direction, an entirely better step, a more powerful step to make using these devices side by side a really cool and a really powerful option. And it's funny because for the longest time, people were saying, you know, why can't you make the iPad just as powerful and just as good as my Mac so that I can only use one device? I can either use just a Mac or an iPad. And it looks like Apple is kind of going like the opposite direction. They're saying, well, maybe you're gonna want two Macs and an iPad to take full advantage of the power in the Apple ecosystem. Because when I think of a device workflow for all of those devices, and maybe I'm just like a unique, you know, case here because I do have a lot of Apple products that I have to review, but there's definitely times where I'll have... No. But there's definitely times where I'll have the iMac set up, the MacBook set up, and my iPad set up, and it kind of creates like this confusion in my brain of, okay, I gotta use this trackpad or this mouse, and sometimes I'll be using the iMac mouse and wondering why isn't that going over to my iPad? Oh wait, I gotta switch over to the Magic Keyboard. So I know this might be like a niche scenario and it probably doesn't apply to like maybe the average everyday consumer. Maybe it does. Let me know in the comments below. Do you use like a multi-device setup sometimes? But I just thought, you know, that is such a cool, powerful feature that really does show off the advantages of going all in on the Apple ecosystem. And let's be honest, the Apple ecosystem play has always been there, and there was just a ton of updates and announcements today that, like, all of your Apple devices just play better together, and even down to Apple's own apps and services. We saw some pretty compelling upgrades for Apple Music, now with free lossless audio playback. All of those share features work already on all of Apple's native apps, and even the subscription plan for like iCloud Plus, handing over your digital legacy, sharing all that stuff together with your entire family or sharing it with select family members, making that whole process of device management easier if you own an Apple device. So I was kind of going into this wondering if Apple would, you know, start opening things up more to third parties, and maybe they will. Maybe that's still a thing they're planning to do on their roadmap, but I think what I can clearly take away from this event is that the Apple ecosystem isn't getting weaker, it's only getting stronger. All right, everyone, so this was a quick video, just kind of out of the top of my head, no written script, not that much preparation. It was probably a little bit jumbled. Hopefully you still enjoyed it though. And, you know, let me know. What do you think about Apple's ecosystem play? Do you agree with me that what we saw out of WWDC, that it's only getting stronger? I really want to know what you guys have to think in the comments below. As for all of the other advanced stuff, like the iPadOS 15 beta, we got new widgets, some new stuff with multitasking, all those enhanced features we kind of briefly mentioned with iOS 15, watchOS 8. Don't worry, separate videos on all of that stuff are coming soon, but for this, I just wanted to get my thoughts out there quickly. All right, everyone, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give me a like. If you want to see more from the channel, including all those future update videos I just mentioned, I should have mentioned that here. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you want to help the channel out in any way, like they did announce a new M1X Mac, so maybe you should buy an M1 iMac. I'll have affiliate links in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.